Hello, G fans. As the governor once said in The Walking Dead, it's time to have that talk. Today, my dissection is about the one and only Godzilla 2014, released by Legendary, directed by Gareth Edwards, well received by many, hated by others, and ultimately, what did it do for the franchise? How does it compare to other Godzilla films? What did it do for the series? Was it really better than 1998? All those questions and more I will answer. So, let me start off with the simple things. I'm pretty sure I've been on this before, but after 1998, Godzilla was on basically a very roller coaster of doing well and not doing well. But the final dive happened in 2004 when Godzilla put one of the biggest budgets on a Godzilla film, but with very poor execution, and Godzilla Final Wars, which finally led to the series taking a long decade hiatus. Kind of what happened in 1975. Now, this would affect a lot of things, including Godzilla's popularity, which kind of was dwindling after 2004, even though it was kept alive with a few games, and the comic books started coming out, which started really hyping people up again. And then, of course, came the news of a Godzilla film coming out in America. This started with rumors of Godzilla 3D to the Max, which would be directed by Yoshimitsu Banu, would have a new monster called Deathla, who rumored to be like Hedorah. And, yeah, the movie was going to be rumored to be a short film, though, like 35, 40 minutes, to which I was really pissed off about, like, why the hell would you do that? That seems kind of like an insult to fans, but at the same time, I was like, well, I can't complain. I need something new, Godzilla related. And then, lo and behold, it was scrapped. And this was around 2010 or so. I was hearing about this, or could have been even earlier or later for that matter. I can't remember. That was so long ago. But eventually, that idea was scrapped entirely, and then news of a new Godzilla film came out. And it was written by Gareth Edwards, a man nobody knew anything about, really, unless you saw monsters, which very few people did. And for a long time, people just sat there and waited. They waited. They heard news it was going to be dark and gritty. Expectations are building up, and then the first teaser trailer came out. And I'm not about the Comic-Con ones where you had to go to Comic-Con to see them, because I was like, as a fan, that pissed me off, like, God damn it, I wish I could go to Comic-Con more often. But budget and time constraints don't really allow it too often. I've been a few times, and it was brilliant ever since. But, yeah, then the first teaser trailer came out, where they had that long speech by the general, the admiral, and then you see Godzilla very briefly, you see the terror, and like, yeah, that psyched people up so freaking much for the movie. Everyone started shitting themselves, saying this is going to be freaking amazing. Even people who were not really Godzilla fans, who just knew Godzilla in name only because of 1988, started getting excited again. Everyone was getting pumped the fuck up. And then then the movie finally came out, and then people started diverging, whether they hated or loved it. But how did it really impact the series, and how did it do to me? Well, before we even do anything else, let's put things in perspective. On a budget of $160 million, the movie made $528 million worldwide. It did incredibly well on its first weekend, and the best thing about it is the movie did much better than 1988 film did box office wise, which is very important because of poor box office reception of Godzilla 98, along with critics panning it everywhere. The idea for a sequel was dropped. But this film did remarkably well. In fact, it made almost 4 times its budget back. Not to mention, divided as critics sometimes were, especially division among the fans, box office wise, it was a great success. And Japanese audience, no offense, the one that matters most, received it very well. And I was very glad to hear that. Not to mention the Godzilla film did a lot of things right that the other one didn't. And when I say that, just to be brisk about it, the movie was shorter than the first American attempt. 139 minutes as opposed to 123. That's a hell of a difference. A hell of a difference. I mean, that was just annoying. That was so long to go nowhere. 16 minutes longer, which in movie terms is a hell of a freaking difference. You can have a whole other movie with 16 minutes of footage. So that said, let's start with director Gareth Edwards. Do I think he was the right choice? I watched Monsters and I saw what it was like before 2014. And I'm gonna admit I didn't know what Monsters. I had heard about Monsters briefly, but I didn't really care to go actually buy it and watch it. But I heard he was behind 2014, and that was his only film that he really made. I made the effort to actually go buy it on Amazon, like $5, really cheap. Put it in my Blu-ray player, watch it. And Monsters, I already did a review of it, so you want to see the full details on that movie, you could watch that video. But I liked Monsters, but it was still very different than what people were probably would expect from a movie with that title. And right there, I'm not gonna lie, I had lots of trepidation and anxiousness for this movie because I was like, okay, is this a tone he's gonna apply to the new movie? Because this is cool in its own way, but I don't know if it was gonna work for Godzilla, and it seems kind of minimalist and very indie. I don't know if I'm gonna like that in a Godzilla movie. I'm scared. I'm not gonna lie, I'm scared. But lo and behold, I still saw Godzilla opening night, and then I mean, just to get an idea of how I felt, I saw it 6, 7 times, which is one of my record-breaking trips to the movies for me. I haven't seen a movie that many times since maybe Man of Steel and Dark Knight. Not to make comparisons or anything like that. Don't believe me. Just movies I really was looking forward to and finally got to see and loved them to death so much. But point being said, oh yeah, that's the word I forgot. I saw it like 4 times. But that was more because of different people wanting to see it with me than me just loving the movie. Although I still like Jurassic World. Max on my own, I would have seen like twice. I ended up seeing it 4 times because different family members and friends wanted to see it different times. Hey, that's life. But in any case, Godzilla 14. Just to hit the ground running, I liked it a lot. And going back to my point, like off topic, Gareth Edwards, I think he's the right directing choice. Watching it again and again afterwards, yes. I debated this between yes and no. More I read reviews from other people and what their take on it, and more I read on the other side, of course, and then watching it again for myself. And you know what? I'm still going to say yes, he was the right decision. Now, yes, his minimalist approach may have been kind of annoying to some people and led to a lot of unfavorable comparisons to Cloverfield, which to me were very unjustified and undignified for that matter. Because yes, it tries to capture a lot more from the human perspective than almost any other Godzilla movie ever made before it, aside from maybe things like GMK. However, it was not done in the same shoddy way as Cloverfield, where it's the shaky cam and all that bullshit. It was done artistically, not to sound pretentious, and it was done very well, and it captured the aura of the past Godzilla films very well. The thing about Gareth Edwards, and the thing I think, I won't say any director couldn't have been capable of handling it, because I'm pretty sure there are plenty of others who could have, like Guillermo del Toro, although I heard he didn't want to touch it. The director of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, I think he could have done very well. I forget his name unfortunately at the moment. But he did very good, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which is a very like kind of a remake as well. Well, I guess it was a sequel to a remake. Those two directors I think could have handled this very well, science fiction wise. They know the proper amount of motion, action to put into a movie to make it really work, even in the science fiction genre. So with that said, not saying there's other directors who couldn't have handled it, but I think Gareth Edwards did just fine. He focused on realism, on making it really count on a human perspective, to make us really feel the terror and magnificence and awesomeness of what the hell is going on. And that's the main point of this movie, and I can say he excelled at that. And I say that because, as everybody knows by now, the film definitely has a lot of Spielberg-esque moments. And I'm glad he took inspiration from Spielberg, from like movies like Jaws and Close Encounters of the Third Kind and Alien, because much people like to say just the payoff isn't the same as in those movies. To me, it is. I mean, to me, as I pretty much covered before, this movie is like, even when monsters aren't technically on screen or not the screen the way we envisioned as giant porn city destruction fest, I enjoy the little scenes that still capture a lot of that terror. Not because of the way the camera was moving, the way the music was set up, the way the scene itself, the build up to each scene was just great. And for example, the initial scene of Godzilla coming to shore. Now I'm not talking about when you leave him at the airport. I'm talking about before we see him going under the Navy carrier. That was awesome. You get such a scale without even really seeing him. You get that awesome music. It tells you he's coming, and everyone's look of fear and wonder. Another scene that captured that too. The scene early on in the movie where the Muto first appears was freaking fantastic, but to even go subtler, let's say the scene where they find a nuclear sub. Great scene, great build up, great acting, great cinematography, and then you see the final build-up. You see the submarines, and they're all wrecked, and then you see, what do you know, a giant freaking monster, and the build-up is freaking great. And just away from the terrain and the look of it, reminded me so much of GMK. Same way, it had a hilly terrain, the build-up, the aerial shots of monsters, the jet going down, kaboom, great stuff. And see, to me, that's the main thing that I can always go to with this movie, but I can't go to 1998. When I watch 1998 movie, it feels like it's its own contained thing, which it definitely is. People call it Jurassic Park ripoff, blah, blah, all that good stuff. But the point is, that movie's like its own contained thing. When I watch it, I don't feel like I'm watching a Godzilla movie. It feels like I'm watching, yeah, sure, like Jurassic Park ripoff in certain senses, and like other monster movies, but not Godzilla in another sense. When I watched this movie, it felt like I'm watching a Godzilla movie. The way it was done, to me, this feels like how a Godzilla movie would be done if the Japanese had a bigger budget, honestly. And with that said, I was just very freaking impressed. Gareth Edwards definitely went for the minimalist style because of not only because the build up of Japan, that's how it's done in those movies, and also just because, like I said, if you watch monsters, that's how his style is, and it has, when you finally see the monsters, it has much greater impact because of it. And I say that not to bash on something else that's very popularly hated, the Transformers series. They shove so many giant robots in there, by the time you see them again and again and again, it just loses its wonder. Like, when you watch the first Transformers movie, it's kind of cool to see them, but now, many sequels later, and even the first Transformers movie, it gets kind of boring after a while. Like, okay, I get it. Robots, transformation scenes, great. You get tired of it. This movie knew what it was doing very well, especially because now you look at the movie's success, it's inspired a new Japanese series. The American one is getting a sequel in 2018, which is bound to be even bigger and better because it has double the monster count. This movie knew what it was doing. It's basically whetting the audience's appetite for more kaiju stuff from Americans, and it did that so damn well. Not saying the movie was doing nothing but laying the groundwork. As Gareth Edwards himself said, it was going to be its own self-contained film, but it did it in the right ways. And what can I say? I've been gushing about it, but yeah, Gareth Edwards, if he has any flaws, I will say certain scenes definitely should have been expanded upon with Godzilla and the Muto. Sure, well, the Mutos get a lot of screen time, but Godzilla could use a little bit more here and there. For example, everyone goes to the Hawaii scene. Yeah, we could have probably used seen a little more from that scene. And the fight scene where, once again, the male Muto and Godzilla clash in San Francisco first, and they cut away again. Those scenes, sure, they could have used a little more behind them, a little more of a follow-up, especially the Hawaii one. But to me, it's just like, if you watch some Godzilla movies, though, you know what was happening, and you kind of go with it, because that's the way Japanese films have always been set up. And I won't say that always, because some Japanese films don't do that in the Godzilla series, but others definitely do. To make comparisons, the type of scene with Hawaii, this is the exact replica, whether you like it or not. This is the exact replica of the scene that happens in Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster. Godzilla comes ashore, briefly wreaks havoc. I mean, only like one thing blows up. Godzilla walks around the Yokohama for a little bit, and then Rodan appears in the sky. And you don't directly see Rodan, you just see him flying above the silhouette, which is a great scene. Godzilla gets mad, and you assume he follows him afterwards. And then they cut to the daytime. It's back to whatever the humans are doing. This is exactly what happens in this movie. The Muto shows up, starts wreaking havoc, Godzilla shows up, and then they cut away. It's almost exactly the same when you look at it. It's just the scale and the build-up in the meantime was so great that I can forgive it. And you know what? It's fine with me. I still love it for what it is and what they achieved. And they make me feel that suspense and terror that the 1980 film just failed epically at. I never felt the terror or suspense in that movie. Also, like Godzilla movies, if you notice, this movie does not have a focus on comedy. There are little tidbits here and there, and they're very subtle, which I liked. And that worked for me to a great extent, because it's like the original Godzilla movies, and a lot of ones from the 80s and 90s and 2000s. If there's comedy, it can be appreciated, but it needs to be subtle and not so damn offbeat. And to me, that's a problem. That's another reason why people may have not liked this movie as much as they envisioned they were going to, because it didn't have the same tone as a lot of movies that are coming out nowadays. And I say this because there's a general distinction between Japanese cinema and American cinema. If you look at the most popular box office juggernauts of the past 5 years or so in American cinema, like Avengers, a lot of the Marvel movies, save for things like maybe Dark Knight. Okay, let's take this for example. The Transformers and Marvel's genre. Not trying to compare them quality-wise. You know, Marvel makes a lot better movies than Transformers, Michael Bay. All that kind of goes in between if you want to do each individual movie as its own thing. But in general, those movies have a lot in common. I'm not comparing Michael Bay to, once again, if everyone gets pissed off. I'm just saying, in general, those movies follow a similar type of thing to Transformers series franchise now, because they're going for a fifth movie, and the Marvel franchise do similar things. Great big action scenes, and in between that time, lots of comedy, no one taking anything too seriously. There are, as the audience would describe them, fun movies to watch. So whether or not people find Transformers movies dumb or not, they make more than enough money, I mean the billions now, to keep making more sequels. Because if people weren't liking them, they'd stop making them. But people are loving them. They keep making more and more money, which is pretty tragic. As bad as Transformers movies are, they haven't been a good one since the first one. Even that's debatable nowadays when you look at it. And Marvel, I'm not going to hate on them. I mean, to me, their quality of movies definitely spikes and dips over. Like, to me, the Thor movies were a complete shit. But people love them because minimal action, great comedy. People eat the shit up. And then things like Iron Man, of course, lots of comedy. Once again, minimal action if you ask me, or support action. But people love it. And Avengers movies are juggernauts. We can see Ultron and the first Avengers and then Age of Ultron. Lots of comedy, especially with Age of Ultron, but still make a lot of money. Because that's what people want to see in between their action scenes. Meanwhile, in Japan, sure, there's sparse comedy in Godzilla films as a whole. But every time you look at one of the serious, successful ones, it's very sparse comedy, if any at all. Because it's not their tone. It's not what they go for. And you can see that in a lot of films like Godzilla, Return of Godzilla, Godzilla 1954, Godzilla Destroy, which had almost no comedy at all, except for maybe one sparse scene at the aquarium, I might add. I pay attention to these things. The Godzilla films just were not meant to be that way. They never were. And I'm glad. And the thing is, much Godzilla 1998, you could tell it tried to emulate the American way of doing things to that extent because there was so much bullshit comedy and campiness shoved into the human dialogue that ruined it for me. Like, this isn't Godzilla. Godzilla movies don't do this. When they have comedy, it's subtle and it's every so often, not coming at you every fucking step of the way. Between Nick Tatopoulos' bullshit, the mayor's bullshit, the fucking Audrey, the reporter's bullshit, it was all bullshit comedy. This movie didn't have that, and I don't think audiences were used to that at all. To them, it threw them off so much that to them it became quote-unquote boring. I've heard a lot of people say that a lot of scenes are boring, too much build-up. But to me, that's fine, because that's exactly the way Godzilla films are. They're staged in a very different way. They're not comedy-driven like a lot of movies. If you watch a lot of Thor 2 and Avengers Age of Ultron, those are very comedy-driven movies. When action's not going on, it's usually comedy. There's very little tension in those movies, if you ask me. And I think anybody can agree. They're not tension-focused. If this trend will continue, and I'm pretty sure it will, because it's a feel-good tone that people like these days. Like, Guardians of the Galaxy had a lot of comedy, too. I'm not saying that is not a good movie. Like, Guardians of the Galaxy is a very good movie to me, but it definitely had that feel-good tone. Almost everything that comes out of people's mouths is a joke. There's only a few tense scenes, but to audiences it worked really well, and at least a big box office return. Godzilla is a stance against that. It made a lot of money regardless of its tone, but it didn't make $1 billion like Avengers. But that's for a reason. Like I said, the comedy affects people's perception and enjoyment of the movie for the whole 2-hour runtime. I guarantee if Godzilla had been more comedy-driven and showed a little more action, just a little bit more, you could have gotten away with it and made the movie a billion-dollar hit. And I say that because of the fact that if you look at a movie like Iron Man, the first one, or maybe even something like Iron Man 3, the amount of action squeezed into it, it's probably not much more than this film's overall, including the Muto scenes, probably not. It's done in a very different way that people don't really warm up to. But I'm pretty sure people still received it really well because, like I said, the box office was great. A lot of critics still like this movie, even though it split some audience members and fans alike. So I've been gushing about the reception of this movie and the style it was done in, and those are very important things, definitely. So I can't afford to brush over those things. I think I've covered them well enough as far as main complaints we have with this movie and why I still think it works. Cast-wise, how do I feel about them? Aaron Taylor Johnson, other people have been saying he was the most wooden actor of all time. I really don't think so. I really think he did fine for what he was playing. He was playing a soldier. Do I feel that it was a weird decision to focus on a soldier? Perhaps, perhaps, but overall it works for the story that's being told. It really does. He's very sympathetic. Do I want to see him return again? Possibly, but only if you have more to add to his story, though. To me, I don't really mind if they don't focus on him again, because he already got to his family. What more can he do? But if they focus, may add more to his drama, like maybe with his wife. He wants to go back into action against Godzilla, Rodan, and Mothra, and King Ghidorah, and his wife saying, "No, I already almost lost you once before." That type of thing. It could work. They could bring him back and make it really entertaining. But for his introduction, I think this is fine. And to me, if you're gonna bring him back, you got to give him more writing. But I'm fine with it. Count Tanabe to me was great. He was a very Dr. Yamane-esque character. People say he was just there to deliver one-liners. I don't think so. If you watch some Japanese Godzilla movies, he had a purpose. He's the warning, kind of the warning guy, I guess you could say, which is kind of a cliche to say, but that's his role. He delivers the role very well. He understands the power of Godzilla in his role, which is the same type of thing we've seen before in many other Godzilla movies, where there's always that one guy who respects his power more than the others, and who doesn't view him quite as the enemy, even when they should. And to the fault of whichever Godzilla version they're fighting against. Like Dr. Yamane regretted admiring Godzilla after he saw the destruction he caused. And, this varies throughout the series. It just depends on Godzilla's role in the story. In any case, I think Ken Watanabe did very freaking well. Elizabeth Olsen was great in this movie. I loved her. Juliette Binoche, Sally Hawkins, David Stratham, Bryan Cranston. All the actors did very well. Let's focus on Bryan Cranston for a second, because that's the one people hate the most of. That's what people complain about the most. He was a tragic waste of an actor. And I'm not going to lie, my first time movie, I was a little bit thrown off the fact that he died so early on in the story. But you know what, to me, that I think it's fine. I think it's fine, and maybe a little bit of waste potential, because a lot of people say, yeah. But people bring up the fact that they would love to see Ken Watanabe and Bryan Cranston interact. That probably would have been very entertaining. It's just how much could he possibly have done in the in the late story game. Not much he could have contributed to the story at that point. So to me, it's half and half. Is it a waste? Could he have done a whole lot more in the series, probably as a whole? Maybe, but to me, it's not gonna make enough to make me hate the movie a little bit more. I mean, after all, people say I didn't come to see a Bryan Cranston versus Godzilla. I came to see a Godzilla movie, and not just see Godzilla, as some people don't know the difference. I didn't come to see just Godzilla. I came to see a Godzilla movie to capture the whole tone of the Japanese films and an American version, which this film did just excellently. So, with that said, I think Bryan Cranston did very well with the material he was given. He did drive a lot of the emotion in the story, and I still think his role in the story carries over very well into Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, who unfortunately is not allowed to be as emotional because he is a soldier, so therefore doesn't transcribe to the audience as well as when Bryan Cranston did it. However, overall, I think the cast is very freaking solid. I'd love to see a lot of these characters return, like Ken Watanabe. I would definitely love to see him return. He was freaking great. I would love to see the Admiral return with a more expanded role and things. That'd be great. And yeah. And I also love to see more characters too. I'm sure along the lines we get more movies, we have more comedic characters, sure, but as for now, I like it the way it is. I don't want a bunch of bullshit comedy slammed in there. I really don't. So I've covered the cinematography style. I covered the themes and how it's quiet. Well, I haven't covered the themes per se, but the themes I think to me people should be very obvious. Is danger of not respecting nature, and of course, to a subtle degree of radiation. But this film was definitely more focused on just nature in general, which is great to a lot of things, especially in the Heisei series and Blame series, because it was a force of nature no one could stop, and you have to accept it. And this film captured that very freaking well, but without making the humans useless. The humans still had a lot to contribute to the story, and that's where we hit the perfect balance. So with that said, I'm here to talk about, obviously, the monsters, as I always do. I go with the Mutos first. Both forms of Muto look freaking amazing. People say that a lot compares to Cloverfield monsters. When you really look at them, I mean, generically, you could say that, sure, because the gray texture, the gray color scheme, the smooth texture of the skin, the spider-esque, quote-unquote, design. But when you really look at it objectively, analytically, without being so simple about it, there's actually very few resemblances between the two monsters. They're very different. The Cloverfield monster, for all the shit I give that movie, the monster is pretty creative looking, very odd. It's even hard to describe other than just saying it's alien-like. The Moodles are definitely much more insect-like, but definitely not the way we know them because if you look at their feet, they still have animalistic feet, which is kind of odd to say, but they don't have insect feet, at least as far as the hind legs go. They have a spider-like appendages, like the claws, which Moodle did not really have. Moodle has actual toes and things when you look at it. I mean, the Cloverfield monster. And also, the eyes are very different, and just the shape of the head. And of course, the Moodles don't have tails. I mean, overall, to say that they're Cloverfield ripoffs, knockoffs, is just to me, a dumb thing to say that kind of makes you brush off your comments about this movie in general. You say that because you're not really analyzing it at all, but that's fine. People have their opinions. But to me, the Moodles are great freaking monsters. I love their roars. They're great. I mean, some people say they would love the classic monsters instead, but I'm glad they made new monsters for this movie, and they were pretty awesome. They were great opponents for Godzilla, and they had very interesting biology, and they had a lot of great shots. Gareth Edwards did. Yeah, these were great monsters. I'm disappointed they weren't a Godzilla game. I'm disappointed there's not more figures of them, detailed ones, not the little crappy ones. But yeah, I think these are great additions to the monster lineup, and whether they appear or not in future films, I would love to see them come again, maybe in the second film, if not in the third, or another variant of the Muto. That'd be fine, but the Mutos to me were A-list monsters to me. They'll join the ranks of Toho classics in time. And let's move to the big guy himself, Godzilla. This Godzilla is the biggest Godzilla so far yet to date, although 2016 Toho film threatens that record. The 400-foot tall Godzilla. And what can I say hasn't been said already? This Godzilla looks amazing to me. There's no aspect of him I don't like. People have tried to hate on the feet and the thickness of his body weight or whatever, but to me those things are great in this Godzilla. A creature this massive needs to be thick and slow moving, and having the trunk-like feet of a sauropod dinosaur, if you don't know what a sauropod is, like Brachiosaurus, long neck, having the sauropod-like feet makes it very realistic in a sense to me, and having the gills too is a very nice touch that once again adds realism to Godzilla, who's still a god and in a lot of ways not meant to be understood, but having the gills just makes sense. I love the new roar, obviously. It freaking makes your heart pump just a little bit faster every time you hear it. It's freaking great. The spines, people say they should be bigger, but when you think about it, I don't think it would work for this scale of Godzilla. I actually think they're fine the way they are. They should be left alone. I do love the fact that he has a very aged look to him. It looks fantastic. And overall, I think it's definitely joined one of my top 10 designs for Godzilla. And of course, the most obvious thing, this actually looks like Godzilla now, so yeah. As far as Godzilla's breath, I love that scene. How I think compares to other Godzilla's nuclear breath or atomic ray or atomic beam, whatever name you want to give it to it. I do think it looks a little weak for his size, but it definitely is aiming to be more like the 1954 film. It's more of a kind of, I won't say gaseous looking thing, but it looks a lot more gentle than the pure straight up destruction beam of death we would get in Millennium and the Heisei series, which to me is fine for now. Why not? Why not? Maybe we'll get a power up later on. Who knows what the writers are going to do with it? Who knows? But yeah, the beam looks and sounds really great. I love everything proportion-wise. I think his head is just the right size. Tail is definitely fantastic. The color scheme is great. And I love the little armored look they gave to his stomach and chest. This Godzilla 2014, Hollywood Godzilla, Legendary, what do you want to call him, looks fantastic. Looks freaking great. Oh, excuse me. And I believe his scenes, I think he could use a little more screen time. Maybe just a little pinch more, but I'm still very happy with what we got. Very happy with it. And I guess lastly, to cover up anything else, I say the music was freaking great. The score by Alexandre Desplat. I don't know how to say his last name. I'm so sorry. I definitely need to research how to say his last name properly, but his score was freaking fantastic. It definitely had touches of tragedy. The chorus always added that tension of tension, awe, and terror. These giant monsters wreaking havoc on us. And yeah, just very well done. Very well done film overall. Every composition piece to it just came together wonderfully. So to cover it, Was my score for this movie? Definitely a strong 9 out of 10. I wouldn't give it any other rating. Because are there things I think could have done a little bit better? Sure. Bryan Cranston's usage, perhaps, could have been used a little work. A little more Godzilla footage itself, possibly, just to, I guess, help out certain audience members who actually need to see that. And then overall, though, from there, I don't really have any complaints with the movie myself. Yeah, but definitely 9 out of 10. To me, definitely one of my top 10 Godzilla movies ever. It was just very well done. It's so amazing. And the impact that's on the series, I think, should be very obvious. It's had such a tremendous spike in its popularity now. Like I said, Japanese series is getting rebooted because of this movie. And definitely can't attribute to anything else but this movie. The comics are surging. There's been a new game that, too, like this movie, has had a lot of controversy with people liking it or not. But I think it's doing fairly well, and I already did my game day section, so you can see what I think about that in that video. But this movie did so much for Godzilla that it's just amazing. It's like a new era for the kaiju genre as a whole, and Pacific Rim 2 coming out, and new Kong movie. I think this movie just did so much more than just reinvent one series. It reinvented a whole genre. The superhero era is definitely still climaxing and building up for really great cinema, but now it's time for the monsters to really step in and do things too. I mean, I'm pretty sure Pacific 2 will be a huge improvement on the first. I know Godzilla 2 will be amazing. And the Japanese director they picked for the Japanese Godzilla reboot, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a fantastic freaking movie. I have no doubt in my mind. So with that said, this is my dissection of Godzilla 2014, a very special section that I finally had to do, and I hope everyone agrees. I mean, everyone enjoy it. Whether you agree or not, it's fine with me. Let's debate, talk about it. It's fine. But I hope I covered enough things for you not to say I missed anything. That's the main goal of this dissection, a very dissection for that matter. So with that said, this video's gone long enough. Have fun, G fans.